Hi there everybody, it's Chris van Niekerk here at Bluerhino Safaris. Today is the end of an era. For those of you who have been traveling with me for the last 6 or so years, you would know my Troopy very well. It's been doing good work for me over the last 6 years. And the time has come to let it go. I cannot keep the Troopy forever. I have another 10 or 15 years of touring ahead of me, and I need to replace it at some point. So I thought I would replace it while it still has good life in it. The vehicle is serving me well, it doesn't have any problems, so I'm quite happy to sell it on to someone who can use it. Past history has showed me that having two vehicles is a bit of a waste for me, because the one stands under the tree and rusts away while the other one does all the work. So having two vehicles doesn't make a lot of sense for me. So if you are interested in a safari vehicle, or you know someone that are looking for a safari vehicle, please give them this link or my number, and I will be able to assist there. I'm also going to advertise it in all the normal places. So don't delay. Get your inquiry in as soon as you can. I'm quickly going to run through it. So if you're not interested in any of that, or you don't know anybody, then no point in watching the video any further. I'm going to go through the vehicle quickly just to show what's in it and discuss the history of it, and then we'll take it from there. So to start with, it's a 2000 model Land Cruiser Trooper, import from Australia. It's not a grey import, it is a real import from Australia. The Troopy wasn't available in South Africa in 2000, and the previous owner imported it. It started its life as an ambulance in Australia, or designated as an ambulance, but never really got around to that, and then it was sold on into South Africa. That's what happens with many UN vehicles. They are earmarked for something and then ultimately get sold because no one is using it. So the vehicle is from Australia, it's on the Toyota system. If you go to Toyota, give them the VIN number, they can give you the spares for the vehicle. It's a stock standard Land Cruiser 78 series Troopy. The Troopy is a two-door originally, two-door 10 passenger carrier vehicle, and that's why it's got the big space in the back. You can see on the front here there's a bull bar and a winch. That is going with the vehicle. I haven't used the winch for about 5 years. It was working when I last used it, so I'm going to assume that it is in good condition. It might just need a service, but otherwise it's in good condition. The passenger side shows a second door behind the passenger door. That was an aftermarket door installed by the previous owner. He had seats in the back, and I don't have seats in the back. I just have the two seats in the vehicle. And this door now is just an access door for loading space in the vehicle itself. It is aftermarket, therefore it's not part of the Toyota thing, but it needs a little bit of attention. I don't really use it, so it rattles now and again, and then I just strap it closed. To keep it closed, there's a place on the inside where you can hook it and strap it. So I don't actually use it. I just strap it closed and it stays in place. The only thing wrong with it is that when you hit a very corrugated area or you hit a big bump, then the lock sort of just unclicks itself one setting, and then when it vibrates a lot, it pops open. But it can lock and everything. It's a normal door in that respect. You can also see the awning. It is an ostrich wing awning, one of the originals, so it's a nice big one, and it's strong, so it's a very nice awning to have over this side. The hatch in the back that you see is the entrance hatch to the 90-litre National Luna fridge freezer, which is inside of the vehicle. It goes with the vehicle. I'm just waiting for it to come back from National Luna. It went for regassing, so they said I would have it in the next day or two. Moving around to the back, this aluminium box on the left you see, this is a charcoal box or a wood box or a rubbish bin box. It's a box outside of the vehicle on one of the swing arms that helps to keep all the dust and rubbish out of the vehicle. On the right hand side you see there's the spare wheel on the spare wheel carrier, and it's also an aftermarket tow bar with the recovery points and all of that stuff. With the back doors closed, the ladder is a permanent ladder for the tent in place that sits on the back of the door to get in and out, so you don't have to pack the ladder away when you back up in the morning. It just slides back up and then locks into place on the back door. So a very nice way to do it. The driver's side, there's a hatch in the back that was access to a 60-litre National Luna, so there's a hole for a 60-litre National Luna. I'm keeping the 60-litre National Luna, so there is a hole now. You can either put a wooden base in there and use it for packing space, or if you have a 60-litre, then it'll fit in there as a 60-litre National Luna. The hatch that open in the front, that's where all the electrical stuff is, and underneath that there's a drawer system where I pack my clothes and stuff normally. The electrical system is at the moment a 105 lead acid battery. There's space for another one. If you want to add another one, you can have 2 lead acid batteries, but it has a 30 amp Victron solar charge controller, 360 watt solar panel on top of the roof, a CTEC smart pass that works as a DC-DC charger. Then the 2 copper pins that you see, that is a smart shunt, a Victron smart shunt, which means on your phone you can see the state of charge of your batteries, if the solar panels are working and all of that stuff. So on the Victron app on your phone, you'll be able to see what the solar panels are doing and all of that. Underneath that, there's a 1500 watt Kotec pure sine inverter. If you wonder what happened to all my Victron stuff, is because I'm a Victron agent. I have Victron stuff for display purposes. I cannot sell it. Otherwise I would be doing something really bad. So yeah, but these items, these are my original items and they work very well, so I am passing it on to the next person. The plug that you see that's plugged in at the moment, that is the 220 volt that goes into the tent. If you want to run a fan in the tent or you need 220 volts in the tent, then you just plug it in there, switch on the inverter, and you have 220 volts. Even for electric blanket. I often in winter use an electric blanket. It doesn't damage the batteries. You can go through the night no problem with the electric blanket. Then moving on, the drawer. It's a drawer that I built in afterwards. It's always nice to have a drawer for your clothes. So this is a drawer system where the clothes go in nice and deep, and I can pack a month's worth of clothes in the drawer, no problem. It closes like a canopy hatch that locks the drawer into place, and then it has the cover that covers the bottom ultimately. Inside of the vehicle, you'll see the seats are 2 colors. The driver's seat is a Hilux seat that I got from N1 4x4 just north of Pretoria. Because I'm always the only one in the vehicle, I never replaced the passenger side seat. But the brother of the driver's seat is probably still at N1 if you want to replace the other seat with a Hilux seat. But otherwise, that's why they have 2 different colors. You can see an 18-liter Indel B fridge in the picture. That is staying in the vehicle. That also just came back from National Luna for a regas. So I tested it yesterday. It is running fine. And then a VHF radio. There's a VHF radio that's also built in. It stays in the vehicle. This is just a picture of the cab on the inside. You can see the carpeting and everything is typical Troopy. You can wash it with water and soap to clean it. It cleans very easily. Behind the seat, a brand new 105 Enertech deep cycle battery that I got from Auto Warehouse. It's still under guarantee. I'll give you the slip to go with it. This is behind the passenger door, the third door view that you can see into. The silver in the middle is the back end of the drawer, and the wood that you see at the top is the back end of the electrical box. So I use this for packing space if I need to load a drum of water or a 60-liter water tank for a Central Kalahari trip, or I need to pack firewood or anything extra that I can't get in my normal places. It goes in here. So the door is actually very nice for extra packing space. Normally underneath the drawer is where I pack some tools and recovery stuff. So a nice space for all of that stuff. Just a picture to the front end of the vehicle. Right there at the top, above the door, that black thing that you can see, that is a switch for all the lights on the vehicle. Once I switch that in, there's motion sensor lights that comes on right at the back at the kitchen side and also in the middle of the vehicle. Going towards the kitchen at the back, this is the slide that comes out. Those who know the vehicle, there's a very fast stove that's always mounted on here. I've taken that stove off. It's an old Kariba stove, and Kariba doesn't exist anymore, and I can't get spares for it, so it's a dangerous thing at the moment to have. You can see the gas bottle there. That's where the gas bottle sits, and it is a 7 kg. I'm selling the gas bottle with the vehicle because it just fits in there perfectly. Next to the gas bottle, there's a gap, and that gap is where I normally pack my water tank. A 25 liter water drum can go in there without any hassles. But yeah, this is the wooden table, if you want to call it that. And then behind the gas bottle is where the 90 liter sits. I'm just waiting for the 90 liter to return, and then it'll go back into its space. What I'm also leaving in the vehicle is the 12 volt pump, the tire pump. Nothing wrong with it. I've just decided on my new vehicle I'm going to switch to a 220 volt pump because I need a proper 220 volt compressor from time to time. So I have an inverter that can run it, and my new vehicle is not going to need a 12 volt pump. So therefore I'm just leaving the 12 volt pump. There's also a tire repair kit on the right hand side that I'm leaving. I have many of those, so that one can stay in the vehicle. Underneath it all, there's a gap. This is where your chairs go, spade, brooms, whatever you take that's bulky and long and weird, goes underneath into that space. Then there's a drawer right in the center. Now this front right end is where I normally keep my kettle and my bodum and my cups and things like that. The spot at the top is where I have a plastic bin for my coffee and salt and pepper and all those type of things. And then the load area, normally I would pack cold drinks in there or extra blankets or pots and pans or whatever. So that's a slide that can slide in and out depending on what you need to do with it. When it's all closed, it looks like this. And when I was in Tanzania last year, I reversed, and with the coal box I bumped into a tree going backwards, and the right hand side door, the ladder just bent it a little bit, gave it a bit of a kink. The door functions perfectly, there's no problem there. It's just that's the only body damage that I have on it, but it's behind the ladder. I often forget that it's there. I just noticed it and remembered that I need to mention it. This is what it looks like when it's closed up. The charcoal box has a strap on it that probably needs to be replaced at some point. It's going to break one of these days. It's been there forever. With standard Bluerhino top tent and the awning. This is the picture with it closed up from the right hand side. This is a picture inside of the passenger footwell. The clock doesn't work anymore. I never fixed it because my Garmin tells me the time, so I don't need the Land Cruiser's clock inside. It stopped working, I don't know why, and I just never bothered to do anything. The 3 gauges that you see on the right hand side, I fitted that myself. The left one is the oil pressure gauge, the middle one is a volt gauge, and the right hand one is a water temperature gauge. And it's useful. The left hand oil one is sporadic. It pops up and down, up and down, so it's not trustworthy. Maybe just a loose wire or something. But the voltmeter helps, and the water temperature meter also helps. On the cluster, you can see there the distance is 704,000 kilometers at the moment. So I just went over 700 on my last Zambia tour. It's got 2 independent fuel tanks, 2 85 liter fuel tanks, so you can have 170 liters of diesel on board, and they are independent with a switch to change between the two. So if you have contaminated diesel in one tank, you can switch to the other one. That's why it's like that. This is above the driver's head. There's a shelf where there's 2 cigarette lighter plugs up there that always has power. So cell phones and iPads and things can go up at the top to stay out of sight of everybody. It doesn't lie on the floor anywhere. It's one of the nicest things of the Troopy. Because it has the high roof, it has the shelf above the driver and passenger's head that you can use. Then this is the engine. I didn't bother to clean it. At some point I probably will. The radiator you'll see is a full aluminium radiator that I purchased from Terrain Tamer in Australia, with a new fan to make sure that the cooling in the engine is good. So I also removed the second battery from the engine bay. It's not a good idea to have a second battery in the engine bay. They do not like the heat of the engine bay. Otherwise, Troopy is still in good condition. Let me go through the history on the maintenance of the vehicle quickly. Here's a spreadsheet. Unfortunately, the app that I used in the past was no longer existing, and I had to transfer all the information to a new app, and so I ended up just putting everything on a spreadsheet. In 2017, the engine was rebuilt about 100,000 kilometers after I purchased the vehicle, 110,000 kilometers after I purchased the vehicle. I was coming back from Botswana and I was in a hurry, and the vehicle obviously overheated and I blew a head gasket. Steve's Auto Clinic in Boksburg did the work. They replaced three pistons, all the engine bearings, all the seals, new head gasket, blah blah blah. So it's basically a whole rebuild of the engine. Total cost was about 85,000 Rand to do that, but it was worth it because the sleeves of the cylinders was still, you could see the honing marks, the original honing marks when the vehicle was made, which means there was absolutely no wear on that engine at all on 480,000 kilometers. Nothing. There was no visible marks on that engine. So they replaced everything, and I said to them, I want this vehicle to do another 400,000 kilometers. And they said, no, that's cool. They'll replace all the bearings, all the seals, do everything so that the engine is basically back as new. So the engine technically is only about 220,000 kilometers old. Then in August 2019, wheel bearings, replaced all the wheel bearings. Steering pump seal kit, I did because it had a bit of a leak on the steering pump. Also same time, the swivel bearings on the front, the front axle, the wheels swivel, and it has a bearing top and bottom. Those swivel bearings, because it sits in one position, they start getting a bit tight, so I just replaced them as well. Front brake rotors. Land Cruisers are notorious for bad braking, and I found a company in Pretoria called Power Brake, and they have pads and discs. I've replaced the pads and discs 550,000 k's, so it's 150,000 k's ago. The front pads, the vehicle brakes better than ever, and those pads are still in there, and they probably only half through their life at the moment. It's the best brakes. If you have a Land Cruiser, Power Brake, I can tell you it's the best thing to do. So one of the best improvements I made on the braking side of my vehicle. Then I replaced the radiator with the new aluminium from Terrain Tamer. Strong gearbox, strong cooler. It's not going to crack or break or anything. It's got very good reviews, and it's been doing its job now for 140,000 kilometers without any issues at all. Then the gearbox repair, that was the synchros on the third gear. So when you change to third, it has a bit of a scratch on it, and it's also something that's fairly common on the cruisers. So the box comes out, they just replace the synchros, put it back again, and you're good to go. The gearbox, if you ever have the gearbox serviced, which I do every 100,000 kilometers, it comes out, they check it through. They charge you for a truck gearbox because this thing is big and strong. It's not a small car gearbox, it is a big heavy truck gearbox that's in the Land Cruiser. Then at 590,000, there was a bit of an oil leak on the head gasket. I replaced it myself, so I did the work myself, got the correct head gasket from Toyota, and I replaced it. It's 110,000 k's later, there's no oil leak on it, it's perfectly fine. New brake adjusters. And then the rear diff was rebuilt just the other day. It was like beginning of the year. New pinion and shaft, new bearings, new seal. Not for any reason other than stupidity. I wanted to change the bearings on the rear diff just as a matter of running maintenance. And I managed to damage the pinion shaft, the pinion gear, when I tried to do the work. So I took the box of spares to Wesley at Edenvale Gearbox and I said, sorry, can you please rebuild it for me? And he rebuilt the diff for me. And that's why it had to be rebuilt, because I damaged it while I was trying to change the bearings. And then also just the other day, complete new Toyota clutch. I was in Tanzania, going up to Tanzania, and I started getting problems with my master cylinder. The clutch, it just has never been serviced really. So I changed the master cylinder, I changed the slave cylinder, and at the same time decided just to do the whole clutch. So it's a Toyota clutch that was done by Safety Brake and Clutch in Edenvale. So all the spares are Toyota spares, genuine Toyota spares, bought from Toyota, but the guys at Safety Brake in Edenvale did the work for me. His name is France. If you take my number plate and phone these guys, they will tell you that the vehicle has been there, when it's been there, and what's been done. So you have full access to that. Then I have the full service history, as I say, from 384,000 when I started working with the vehicle, and it's diff oils, gearbox oils, transfer case oils, air filter, diesel filters, tire rotations, all of that. The tires at the moment is good. It's BF Goodrich's. I fitted them in April this year, so they only have about 30,000 Ks on them at the moment. So the tires, BF Goodrich KO2s, they are still in very good condition. No problems with them. What is due next? You'll see on the spreadsheet. I'll send it to you if you want it. What is due next is going to be the normal oil changes, and then the filter changes as well. Diesel filters has to be done. Then timing belt. It's almost time for the timing belt and idler, as well as the water pump. You do the water pump and the timing belt and idler at the same time because it's the same area that you're working in. So the water pump has to be done, the timing belt and idler has to be done, and then the V-belts as well. I already purchased the new timing belt and the tensioner from Toyota, and I already purchased the new V-belts as well, with the view of servicing it now, because I actually thought I was going to drive this vehicle for another 50,000 Ks for another year or so. But then I found a new Hilux that worked for me, and I decided to take it and sell this vehicle. So I already have most of the spares. It's just the water pump that's missing. The filters and everything I already have, which is going with the vehicle. So if you service a vehicle yourself, you know how to do it. I already have those spares for you. Otherwise, this is the record. I service generally every 10,000 kilometers. New oil filter, new oil. The oil that I use is Shell Remula R4. Shell Remula R4 is long distance truck oil. So the trucks that drives up and down to Cape Town, it's that oil that I use for my vehicle. It's got very good cleaning. It's very good oil in general. So I don't fool around using cheap oil. I've always used only the best parts. This truck has to be trustworthy. So I decided not to skimp on anything. Gearbox comes out every 100,000 kilometers. The diesel pump comes out every 100,000 kilometers. It gets checked. New seals. Everything that needs to be fixed on it gets fixed. The injectors are checked every 100,000 kilometers. So the vehicle itself, the engine mechanically is in a very good condition. It's also a cheap vehicle to maintain. The injectors on this vehicle, last one I had to buy was like 450 Rand for an injector. It's very cheap. It's the old mechanical style injectors that has a spring on it with a needle. So it's a very cheap injector to actually maintain. The diesel pump, it was serviced by M&D Diesel in Edenvale in April this year, and what was that, 30,000 Ks ago, and there was nothing to report. Diesel pump is in perfect working order. They replaced the few seals and things that they normally do, and the pump is in good condition. So the diesel pump is very much original. The engine itself inside is very much original. The gearbox is good. Maybe again the synchros on the third gear is going to start asking for another replacement, but it's very affordable. It's not expensive. Other than that, wheel bearings is something that has to be checked regularly. A lot of Land Cruiser guys say every 20,000 kilometers, especially if there's spacers on. This vehicle does not have spacers on. It comes from Australia. In Australia, the axle in the front and the back is the same. So this back axle and front axle is spurring correctly, and therefore the vehicle doesn't have a spacer on it, and the bearings therefore last a little bit longer. So best is for Toyota to do it. If they do it, then generally you get the best life out of the wheel bearings. But I've done it myself. It's not difficult to do. In any case, if you have any questions, please let me know. As I say, I will be selling the vehicle as a unit, as a touring vehicle, as in this video. But if you just want the vehicle, the frame in the back can come out, and you can do something else with the vehicle itself. So if you want interested just in certain parts of it, let me know. I ultimately have to get rid of it in some other form. So the best deal I'm going to get from out there is going to be what I would do the vehicle for. The vehicle itself I'm going to sell for 180,000 Rand, just the vehicle. So if you just want to buy the vehicle without the tent and fridge and all that stuff, it's 108,000 including VAT. I can give you a VAT invoice for the vehicle. But the vehicle as it is, as a safari vehicle, is going for 235. 235, the panel, the solar panel, the electricals, the inverter, the tent, the awning, all of that stuff is the extra bit. It's probably worth about 100,000 bucks. But the fridges as well. But I'm adding 55 for that. Again, I have to pay VAT on it, so VAT is included in that. Yeah, so if you're interested, let me know. I'm here for the next 4 weeks, then I'm off on a trip again. And not with this vehicle. This vehicle is now retired. It's going to stand around and just wait to be sold. But yeah, if you're interested, let me know and we can make a plan. Otherwise, have a great day. Cheers.